Alright, you guys know I have a lot of stories about high school, and I know there's probably a lot about it that makes it seem like I had a blast. But I'm going to be honest. It was terrible. Not terrible in the sense that it was the worst years of my life. Middle school still holds that number one spot. And since I've only been alive for about 19 years of my life, I'm going to say it'll hold that number one spot for a very long time. Or at least until I experience a midlife crisis. But like I went to high school from middle school and realized how terrible middle school was, when I moved from high school to college, I realized how terrible high school was. A lot of adults tried to convince me and my friends that it was going to be the best years of our lives, but I feel so lied to. It's not that high school is terrible as much, as adulting is just significantly better. Okay, there were some terrible parts of high school too, but I'm going to get into both of these things in a second. Here's my number one pet peeve about high school. They make the real world seem like a terrible place the whole time. But the moment I agree with the adults telling me this, all of a sudden, being an adult is the best thing that's ever going to happen to me. It just annoyed me because I was treated like a kid, and then all of a sudden had spurts of being told I couldn't do the things that kids did anymore because I needed to grow up. That was just something super annoying about high school. Not to mention, everyone made it seem like college was going to be this big scary place where there were no exceptions to anything and everyone is mean. But the coolest teachers I've ever had are my college professors. Even my fully French one, and I still don't know what she's saying a good chunk of the time. These are honestly just people that understand life is hectic and want to show that they care somewhat about our lives. I mean, they probably don't care that much, but they care enough, you know? Assignments can get moved around, our test dates are switched to a different day, life happens, you email them, and they get it. High school was its own breed of torture, because when I was in high school, apparently, according to every sucky high school teacher out there, as a kid, there was nothing that was more important in life than school. It seemed to be the synonymous thing about high school teachers that they all thought that teenagers didn't have anything better to do outside of being in school. It's my theory that that's why they gave so much homework. Do you know how many times my friend Sadie would join us at our lunch table crying because she couldn't get all her assignments in? The girl was a cheerleader at a private club. She was there for 4 hours sometimes. It was insane how much of herself she put into it. My friend Mira? She literally has 3 younger siblings. But when she was looking to get an extension on an assignment because she was going to need to watch them while her mom was on a business trip and her dad was at work, she told us that the science teacher that I got fired years ago said that it wasn't an excuse. Keep in mind, this is the same man who had to take a day off of work to do the exact same thing for his kids. Poor Mira was freaking out over that grade for weeks before the whole throwing a pencil at my face ordeal. Yeah, it always bothered me how much work I had to do in high school. It's not like we don't get that much work in college, but I feel like the work I'm doing is actually useful to my life. I don't have an issue doing it. High school work was busy work in my opinion, and no one could change my view on that. Was some of it interesting and useful? Duh, of course it was. But I just don't understand why it was so important to these people that I was up until 1 in the morning finishing 7 different assignments due the next day. Now, of course, I also have some fun and slightly traumatizing stories from high school that just solidify the fact that it sucks. Like the fact I got a teacher fired for throwing crap at my face. He also tried to make my life really freaking miserable because of one time a science experiment went wrong. Goodness gracious, I still don't know how that man got a job. There's also that one time this random girl I barely knew started the rumor that I was dating the super old janitor that everyone knew. I mean, the guy had literally been working at the school for 20 years. He very closely resembled that of a pterodactyl mixed with some other prehistoric bacteria. Dude was old, and every time I felt like the collective high school stupidity level couldn't be any lower, I just remember the fact that people actually believe her, and I lost all faith in people. This is why I don't trust the American school system. Like, what is that crap? Is common sense a thing anymore? Are people actually born with it? I refuse to believe that it was just yeeted out of us due to natural selection. Natural selection is supposed to enhance us, not make us dumb. I don't know if that's the case though. The only one that got hit with that in my family would probably be my brother. I mean, he is the doctor in the family. And before you guys all go on about how I'm not dumb, let's compare. My brother is a graduated med student, And I'm a journalist major in a country with a language I barely speak that makes videos about talking how dumb I am. Okay, one sounds stable and the other sounds fun. I'm the fun one if you didn't figure it out. But you get what I mean when I compare myself to my brother in natural selection, right? This all leads me to start talking about the kids in high school. Alright, the ones that are better than they were in middle school are great and all, but that doesn't take away the fact that some sucked, and then still suck during high school. It's a great thing that peaking in high school is a thing. The amount of snobby kids that are convinced that they are better than you is atrocious. Literally disgusting. Not just from one group, but from all of them. High school, I feel, is just one big competition with no prize other than to rub how great your life is in adulthood. It makes me kind of want to skip out on my high school reunion when I'm older. But how could I pass up the opportunity to see those little jerks again? And rub it in everyone's face that I have no student debt. I'm totally kidding on that last part. My parents raised me to be a decent human being. I would silently be enjoying myself though. High school was literally so stressful and scary, but it did help me get into college. And it did prepare me for it in a way, but not entirely. Because unlike they told me then, I can actually go to bed at a decent time because my assignments aren't insane. Seriously, the clouds hanging over the collective like minds of high school teachers everywhere dissipate. I don't need my brother calling me with his high school mental breakdowns.